Shall we get into specifics about what we liked and what we didn't like about Reacher?
Yeah, why not?
Season 2?
You could. I'll let you go first. I'll be a gent.
Okay. Well, this section is definitely going to be spoilers heavy. So if you
What the
don't want
first section
spoilers,
was? If anyone hasn't watched season 1, I've pretty much just spoiled those for season 1 and the ending of season 2.
yeah. Which I think we should definitely say a bit more at the beginning of these streams.
It's fine. It's fine. When the video goes up on YouTube, I'll just edit some stuff and put in spoiler, so it's fine.
So
why are you watching a review if you don't want spoilers?
Some reviews are spoiler free. I am going to start with a negative, and one of the negatives I have is some of the fight scenes, not all, some of the fight scenes were not good. They were very fake.
Which one do you have in mind?
I have two. Not the whole fight scene, but specific parts of the fight scene. I believe it's the episode 2 when they're in Atlantic City and Reacher is fighting in that construction yard.
Yeah.
The bricks that he threw.
You mean the explosive? What is it made out of? It's breeze blocks. Yeah, the explosive breeze blocks. They
looked so rubbery and so not gonna hurt. Like they just looked fake. And I will say that took me out of it for a brief moment because I thought to myself, "Oh yeah, they're clearly fake bricks."
Yeah.
So that was one negative.
In all fairness, he did throw it pretty hard. So if they weren't fake bricks, the other guy's armor would have probably been smashed to pieces. Yeah. But I know what you're saying because it hits him and it almost explodes. It doesn't even break, and then he throws him onto, I think, a pallet of them beneath, and they spray outwards, whereas if it was a real pallet, it would just have practically snapped the guy in two.
Yeah. So that was one.
Yeah, I'll give you that one.
Okay, the second one is later in the season where he's fighting in the bus. I think this might be episode 7.
Yes, it is, I think.
So he chokes out the first guy.
Yeah.
No problem with that because he's using his bare hands. But the second guy that comes on the bus, he chokes him out by pushing his throat against a pole on the bus. And when the guy is losing consciousness and collapsing, it just looked so... The acting in that part just didn't look good. It was just so again, it took me out of it for a brief moment. But
I've got another one that I want to add to this to see if you can understand my. I let it go because I was loving the show, and it was when he's fighting the guy on the. Was that season 1? I watched them both back to back again. Yeah, it's season 1. Ignore me. Yeah, there's a part in season 1 where he chokes out a guy with his tie by basically jumping off the thing, but the tie's around the guy's neck, and with the weight of him, he'd snap the guy's neck. He wouldn't choke him. His neck would just snap his head would just go like that. But he's over this fire escape. So his head's the fire escape's on his shoulder blades. What is it? I'm trying to think of the word. The fence, I guess? The railing. So the railing's on his shoulder and the neck's on here, and he jumps off and he's hanging his whole weight with the tie around this guy's neck. And I'm sat there going, his neck would snap.
Probably.
Either your tie's going to snap or his neck's going to snap. Because you weigh probably about 250, 300 pounds. And I'm pretty sure a neck is not meant to withstand that sort of force. So it's not something which is just contained to season 2.
Yeah. So another thing, again, it's part of a fight scene, but it's not the fighting itself. It's when they're on the helicopter in episode 8.
Yep.
And it's the gurney.
Yeah.
I have no problem with him stopping the gurney, rolling out the back of the helicopter, and then him still managing to fight, and he has to sacrifice a couple of punches here and there to keep his friend from dying. But when it falls out of the helicopter and he is holding onto it, I'm not saying he couldn't hold onto it with one arm. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just like, at this point, the bad guys have won. Like, there is no reason that they are losing this fight. He is hanging onto a gurney, hanging out the back of a helicopter. His other friend is strapped into the other gurney, still trapped, and the woman is on the gurney that's hanging out the back of a helicopter. So she's not going to be much help in this fight. So when I saw this, I was just like, oh no, this is stupid.
Yeah, but this, you know what it is? The problem with this comes down to the stupid decisions of the bad guys, which obviously we came beforehand. Because the bad guy says to Reacher, I'm basically going to smash your skull in. Rather than just smashing the skull in, he goes into a monologue and says, I'm going to smash your skull in. But if you let her go, basically, I'll do you a favor. I'll just throw you after her. And then once Reacher gets back on, I'm pretty sure he then pulls out the switchblade. Why didn't he just pull out the switchblade and jam it straight into Reacher's hand or his arm? And basically make like the hell. Yeah. Like, if you wanted to toy with him, cut off his fingers one at a time.
Yeah, it was, for me, I let a lot of stupidity go from the bad guys. Like, I completely understood, let's torture Reacher because he's been a thorn in our side this entire time. Let's decide to drop them out of the helicopter instead of just shooting them. I'm like, sure, sure, sure. But then that fight scene on the helicopter, I was fine with.
It was the worst, like, retarded moment from bad guys.
Yeah.
By quite a considerable distance. Like, I know there's some people circulating who have a problem with how she escapes. Basically from the gurney. I mean, I like, if she could escape, why didn't she escape beforehand? But if she escaped beforehand, she was still going to be strapped to a table in other ways, and they would have stopped her from getting away. So she had an actual reason to escape. So maybe she was able to escape, but just didn't have the opening to actually escape. But my problem with the helicopter moment is the helicopter moment needn't have happened in any way, shape, or form. Neagley sees basically them both being wheeled to the helicopter, so she knows what's going to happen. She then sets up the whole thing at the gate, gets inside. She then runs to the helicopter and kills the two bad guys that have just wheeled them onto the helicopter. But rather than go to the helicopter and pull them out, even though there's still the pilot alive on the helicopter, she runs into the building. And that, for me, was the only part of the show where I genuinely thought this doesn't make sense.
I also think episode 8 suffered from, when's this going to end? Because it felt like the show finished about halfway through that episode, because they stopped the bad guys. They stopped the bad guys. They cleaned up all the loose ends, and then it was like 15 minutes of just them spending the $65 million, and I was like,
you see, I don't have an issue with that. That is one thing I don't have an issue with. It's kind of, the way I would describe it is like the end of Return of the King, which we've had this discussion many times. but they need to apply a bit of time to end people's arcs, because there's a very good chance that depending on the story that they do, we're not going to see McConnell again. We're not going to see Dixon again. We might not even see Neagley again. Although it is heavily suggested that Neagley wants to stay in touch at the end of the episode. But you have to nip those arcs kind of off for two reasons. Firstly, if they're not going to be in the show again. And secondly, in case they don't do another season.